Good evening. Welcome to the Planning Commission meeting of Monday, April 27th, 2026. I now call the meeting to order. It's time for the Pledge of Allegiance, and tonight will be led by Commissioner Martinez.
Please stand if able. Place your right hand over your heart and say with me, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Ms. Green, will you please do the voice roll call?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The record will reflect that all commissioners are here except for Commissioner Andrade and Zick.
Okay, and I will announce that Director Carrie Tai is attending tonight's meeting remotely. Takes us to announcements and presentations. We have one presentation tonight. Ms. Green, will you please read the title of that presentation?
Yes, this is the active development map presented by Dan Inlos.
Mr. Inlos, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. This evening, I'd like to take a brief moment to introduce you to a new tool in beta that's called the Active Development Map. It's easy to find. You can type in Active Development Costa Mesa, and it shows up on Google, or if you're on the city website, you go to Government and go to Economic and Development Services. It's the first thing on the page. If you go ahead and click that, it takes you to just a heads up that we're keeping this information as clear and precise as possible, but always it's a good practice to check in with our counter staff if you have really important decisions to make. Once you get through that stage, you've got our active development map, which shows all active projects both in building, business license, code enforcement, planning, and public works. You've got a nice counter at the bottom, and then it shows our map, which is easy to access, navigate, and helps us with all kinds of purposes, including knowing what's going on in your neighborhood if you're a resident, or if you're a business, knowing on what kind of projects are happening around your business, or if you're a real estate agent or a property owner, knowing what kind of opportunities are occurring around you, new development, new businesses, and the like. It has three components. The center section is the map, and then if you type in an address or navigate to a spot, for instance, I'll go ahead and type in one now. Takes you to a location in which you can then click on the property. Once you click on the property, it activates the other two screens. To the left is our kind of assessor's information. This is general information about that specific property. It's APN, it's zoning information, general plan, jurisdictional information, geological information, and such. We're going to continue working on adding information to this as we continue, but this is the general information for that property. And then to the right, you can look through the active entitlements that are currently happening on that property, whether it's building, public works, business licenses, etc. If you want to filter by one of these features, say you just want to look at building information, you can just filter by building at the top right, and it'll show you just the building cases if you're already in a property, or if you're on the map as a whole, it'll just filter to provide you just the active building permits that are happening in the city of Costa Mesa. As I mentioned, this is in beta right now. We're taking in comments regularly and making corrections. One of the ones that we did receive that's been super helpful is trying to make this as mobile friendly as possible. We're working on that now with IT to make sure this could be something that we look up on a phone. Obviously, the format needs to change because the real estate on a phone is a little bit different than here. And so we're working on that. Hopefully May, June, we'll have something beta to start playing with and for people to test. But this is our active development map.
All right, great. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Inlos. Anybody have any very quick questions or comments?
Just a
Commissioner Dixon.
question. On the mobile one, is there going to be a separate mobile and a separate desktop? Simply because sometimes the mobile may not have all the functionality of the desktop.
Right.
And so I just want to make sure we don't dumb it down to the mobile version that's also on.
This will stay.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, great. Thank you very much, Mr. Inlos.
Of course.
Before we get to public comment, just let the record reflect, Ms. Clerk, that Commissioner Andrade is present now. Public comments will be heard now. These are for matters not listed on the agenda. Open public comment. If you'd like to speak, please come to either podium in the chambers, or if you're participating by Zoom, use the raise hand option at the bottom of the screen, or if you're joining by phone, please press *9. Anybody in chambers wish to speak on public comments? I see none. Ms. Green, anybody on Zoom or by phone?
No, Mr. Chair.
Okay, this will be a quick meeting tonight. All right, I'll close public comments. Planning Commissioner comments and suggestions. Let's start to my left. Commissioner Martinez.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. First up, I wanted to share about an upcoming open house for our Climate Action and Adaptation Plan on Thursday, April 30th from 6 to 8 p.m. here at City Hall. The city will host an open house to receive feedback on the proposed CAP, Climate Action and Adaptation Plan, and also environmental justice policies. If you are available at that time, please do feel free to join us. It'll be very interesting to learn about what the city is proposing to do to improve, talk about climate policies and to share our plans regarding sustainability and the like. So please do attend if you're interested. A past event, Earth Day and Arbor Day, both events were fantastic. For Arbor Day, I got to go to Wilson Park and plant a couple of trees. And I know Commissioner Andrade Boyacha was there as well as Chair Ochoa from the Arts Commission. It's a great event, and it works towards our goal for Independence Day of planting 250 trees citywide for our 250th anniversary as a country. And then the Earth Day Festival, as always, was amazing. A lot of great organizations came out, a lot of people came out, so very thankful for the city for putting that on. On May 5th, there will be a couple of poetry workshops led by our poet laureate. I believe one is geared towards teens and one is geared towards seniors. I think the one for seniors is at the Senior Center. But more information will be on the city website if you're interested in a poetry workshop. And finally, an event not in Costa Mesa, but I do want to promote it. On May 2nd, so this Saturday, the city of Irvine will have their 3rd annual Cyclo Irvine. That's an open streets event. They will be closing 1.3 miles of Irvine Boulevard to cars and opening it to people walking, biking, running, scooting, rolling, however they want to get around. It's basically going to be a pop-up park on Irvine Boulevard. It'll be a very fun event. Last year's was very popular. If you're interested in seeing what that could look like, I know open streets is something that's been discussed here in Costa Mesa before. I encourage you to check out what Irvine is doing. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Dixon.
Thank you very much. And I had heard at the last council meeting, council members talk about there's still an opportunity to comment publicly on the Fairview Developmental Center specific plan. And I was just looking on the FDC plan site, and I didn't see that comment option or button. So I was hoping that staff could point us to that if there was a specific place, if it's still an online survey or online comments available, or if it's just sending in an email to the city. If you could update us on that, I'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Just to provide a brief response to that, the comment period is now closed for the specific plan, so that we're not accepting comments actively. Thank you.
I had heard someone at the council meeting say it was open till like May 1st, and I didn't think that was accurate, so I thought I'd double check.
That's correct.
Chair, this is Director Tai, if I could chime in.
Yes,
Sure.
of course.
Please, thank you. So, yes, thank you. The comment period that was active for the specific plan was purposes for the active development, as the specific plan was literally being drafted. But of course, until the specific plan is actually heard through the Planning Commission and the City Council, obviously there are still additional opportunities for commenting. It's just that the ones that came in a timely manner made it into the draft of the specific plan. So I do want to clarify that there is still opportunity to comment, and we would just ask that members of the public send comments to the email that's listed on the fdcplan.com website. And that way it'll come to our project team. We'll continue to take them. However, we at some point had to work with a draft specific plan, and that's what our comments were for. And additionally, there was some reference to comment periods in May. So the city will be releasing the draft environmental impact report for the Fairview Developmental Center specific plan in mid-May, and there will then begin a 45-day review period for the environmental review document. So I did want to clarify there's some additional opportunities for comment for both environmental as well as the specific plan prior to any recommendation and adoption. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Andrade, any comments?
I will just similarly echo the great work of the city and staff for a wonderful Earth Day celebration right here on City Hall grounds. It was a great opportunity to engage with many local businesses that are focused on sustainability priorities, and a great way to connect with your neighbors. So I highly encourage you all, since we have a packed audience today, thank you all for being here and making your voices heard. Please visit the City Hall website or Instagram as well, that frequently lists so many activities. It's a great way to connect with your network, with the local community. Yeah, that would be it. And yes, of course, the open house on the climate action and adaptation policies on April 30th. Come and join us.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Klepek?
Nothing for me.
Commissioner Rojas?
Just to say that I like having everybody here. I mean, I appreciate your attending because it's always great to hear from the community. Also, just a quick reminder, we have the OC marathon happening this weekend, coming out and join us. It's going to be pretty cool. And given that this is our other meeting we're having before Mother's Day, I'd like to give everybody a preemptive wish all the mothers a happy Mother's Day.
All right, thank you. All right. That takes us to, we have no items on the consent calendar tonight? Yes? No. Takes us to our public hearing. We have one public hearing item tonight. Ms. Green, will you please read the title for that item?
Thank you. This is the conditional use permit to convert an existing industrial building to an event venue with live entertainment and dancing, including on-site valet parking, and a minor conditional use permit for outdoor event operations to be located at 932 West 17th Street. Presentation by Mr. Mendez, Senior Planner.
Thank you. First, any ex parte communications, commissioners?
I would like to say that I did visit the site and drove it to just get a good understanding of the layout. I didn't talk to anybody on site, though.
Okay.
Visited the site as well.
All right.
I did speak to a constituent on this issue.
All right. Mr. Mendez, you have the floor.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. The item before you tonight is a request for approval of a conditional use permit and minor conditional use permit to operate an event venue with live entertainment and dancing, including on-site valet parking and associated outdoor event activities. The property is located on West 17th Street between Whittier Avenue and Monrovia Avenue. The site is zoned MG General Industrial with the light industry general plan designation. The site is surrounded by general industrial zone properties on 3 sides and an age-restricted senior mobile home park across West 17th Street. The site includes 2 existing 1-story multi-tenant buildings located on the west and east portion of the property. Uses within the existing development includes offices, retail non-storefronts, storage, and a private recording studio. The proposed event will occupy the northern portion of the existing multi-tenant building located on the east side of the site. The images on this slide show an aerial view of the site to the left. On the right, you'll see a site plan of the proposed plan. The indoor event is outlined in red, and the associated outdoor event patio is outlined in blue. By way of background, back in April 2025, code enforcement received a complaint and found that the site had been operating as an event venue without permits. From there, staff connected with the applicant and walked them through what needed to bring into compliance the site. We had multiple departments visit the site and outlined operational issues that needed to be addressed. Over the next several months, the applicant worked closely with staff through multiple rounds of revisions, including preparing technical studies like a noise study, just to make sure that the project was in compliance. By March 2026, everything had been reviewed and finalized. The project was scheduled for this hearing. Since that initial case back in April 2025, there have been no additional complaints or observed event activity at that site. The proposal includes two separate entitlements for the proposed event venue. The event venue is listed in the is not listed in the zoning code, nor is it similar to any other use. Therefore, it requires a conditional use permit. Valet parking for non-residential uses also requires a CUP approval. Because live entertainment and dancing is proposed within 200 feet of a residential use, a CUP is also required. Lastly, the outdoor event activities are considered unenclosed uses and require a minor CUP. CUPs and MCUPs are evaluated against the findings in COSTA MESA section 13-29G2. The findings require that the project be compatible with nearby development, not be detrimental to nearby properties or the public health, safety, or welfare, and be consistent with the general plan. Lastly, all planning applications must comply with review criteria that address neighborhood compatibility, safety, and compatibility of design compliance with applicable performance standards. The applicant proposes to operate a private indoor and outdoor event venue designed to host reservation-based gatherings. Some of these events include baby showers, birthdays, weddings, and corporate events. Live entertainment is proposed and may include musical performances such as a DJ, pianist, violinist, vocalist, or acoustic guitar. The indoor event will serve primarily as a gathering space with all amplified music and all live entertainment confined inside the building. The outdoor event functions as a secondary component of the event venue. It's intended to support guest circulation, informal gatherings, photo opportunities, and limited outdoor seating. Background level music is only permitted in this area. The non-event business hours are Tuesdays and Thursdays from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Events are hosted on the weekends, Fridays from 4 to 10 p.m., Saturdays from 12 to 10 p.m., and Sunday 12 to 8 p.m. In March 2026, a noise study prepared by First Carbon Solutions evaluated operational impacts of the proposed event. The study reviewed existing conditions and projected noise from indoor event activities, background music, and associated mobile sources. It concluded that operational noise would remain within the city thresholds and would not significantly impact nearby sensitive receptors. Therefore, no additional sound attenuation or building modifications are required for compliance with the noise ordinance. The proposed 4,200 square foot event will occupy the northern portion of the existing multi-tenant building located on the east side of the site. The event venue will be remodeled to accommodate an assembly area, restrooms, office space, storage, a changing room, and a kitchen. Adjacent to the building is a 6,000 square foot outdoor patio area that is improved with decomposed granite, landscaping, and fencing, and it's proposed to be used as a secondary component of the event venue. Vehicle access to the project site is provided via 3 driveways on West 17th Street. In regards to parking, the site is located within 1/2 mile of a major transit stop. So pursuant to AB 2097, the city is barred from imposing a minimum parking requirement on the project. Event venues are an exception under AB 2097 and are still required to provide parking for employees and workers at the event venue. The project provides up to 47 on-site parking spaces to serve the employees, vendors, and event attendees. A trip generation memo was prepared to evaluate the trips and parking demand and concluded that the project is not anticipated to generate significant number of trips during typical weekday peak hours, as events are primarily occur during evenings and the weekends. The parking analysis also identified that there's enough on-site parking, including valet, for most events. For larger events, extra parking can be accommodated with nearby street parking during off-peak times and weekends. The project will include a complimentary valet program that will operate during all events. Guests will drop off their vehicles at the designated valet stand, and as shown in this yellow area on the screen. Vehicles will be parked on site, with most in a stacked configuration at the rear of the site. The service will be staffed by at least 2 attendees, with additional staff added for larger events as needed. The valet operations will be managed by Black Diamond Valet. Conditions of approval have been conditioned for this project. Condition number 5 is in relation to park-related problems. If they do arise, we would find a way to either minimize or eliminate the problem. Condition number 10 speaks to music, food, and beverage services should cease by 9:45 p.m. on Friday and Saturdays and 7:45 p.m. on Sundays. Condition number 3 just reiterates that the indoor gathering space is actually the primary event venue, and the outdoor is more of an accessory component. And then condition number 14, any music in the outdoor areas will be limited to background level only. The sound level should not exceed 60 decibels as measured at the center of the patio. Pursuant to code, 3 types of public notification were completed for the project: a mailed notice, on-site posting, and a newspaper publication. 1 public comment was received at the completion of the report opposing the project. Subsequently, over 25 written public comments were received. It contained a mix of support and opposition for the project. The Planning Commission may take the following actions. It could approve the project, it could approve the project with modifications, or deny the project. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt the resolution to find that the project is categorically exempt from the provisions of CEQA, approve conditional use permit PCUP-25-001 for an event venue, and approve the MCUP for outdoor event operations. This concludes staff's presentation. Staff, the noise consultant, and the applicant are available for any questions. The applicant has also prepared a short presentation to share with the commission.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Mendez. Commissioners, any questions of staff? Commissioner Rojas.
I have a few, so I'll just go through these pretty quick. I'm looking at the code enforcement and submittal history. There was 9 total points of contact, 4 of which were corrections. I'm not used to seeing that many back and forth. Can you tell me why we had to go back and forth that many times, specifically with 4 different rounds of corrections submitted?
Yeah, there was 3 separate documents. We had plans, and we also had a noise study and a trip generation memo. So staff had to ensure that there was consistency between all 3 documents, and some of those documents weren't all submitted at the same time. There were some that were submitted after the fact.
Okay, great. And I just wanted to make sure. So it was more paperwork than it was like an issue with the site itself, like a physical issue with the site?
Correct. It was just minor, nothing substantial.
Okay. And I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this one, but I want to ask it publicly is I want to confirm the current owner or operator is the same. There's not going to be a change in any of that, of the leadership and ownership of that. It's going to be who's been there operating before all this paperwork was corrected is going to continue being the same people involved with this project.
That's correct. The commitment I've heard hasn't swayed.
Okay. And then do we know if the property, and I was looking for this, but I'm not an expert on it. Do we know if the property is air conditioned?
When staff went out there, there was ventilation on the ceiling. The applicant can confirm that.
Okay, the reason I asked that, and I'll say that preemptively before the applicant comes up, I want to give them time to think about it because the condition approval number 12 talks about all doors and windows shall remain closed during indoor event activities. And obviously some of the things that the comments we've been given is concerns about the sound. So I'm thinking in terms of like an evening event in the summertime when it could get pretty warm inside of a building. Do we have a way to make sure that those doors will in fact remain closed so that we can mitigate the noise?
Yeah, so staff will be monitoring the doors. The windows, from my understanding, they're fixed. They can't be open. They're not operational.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm done. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Dixon.
Thank you, and thank you for your presentation. I appreciate that. Was the timing of those submittals requiring the 4 corrections and reviews, was the timing of the submittals from the applicant staggered, or were these required at different times during the process?
It was a little bit of both. If you look at the background, there was our initial contact with the applicant was back in April of 2025. And then the applicant had to hire an architect and designer to prepare the plans, and the first submittal was in August. So then there was some few back and forth that staff felt that in order for a use like this to be somewhat compatible or compatible with the neighborhood, additional studies would need to be provided. So it happened in either the first or second round. So they also had to prepare and ensure that they had the proper people to vet to prepare these studies.
Okay. And then, are there other event centers similar to this use in this sort of area? Or, I know there's one, there's, I believe, the Harper, I think it's called, or over on Ohms.
Yeah, that's the closest one from my understanding.
And then there's also the one at that museum or a little bit north of that. I'm just curious if the operational and the restrictions are similar, or if this is more, if there are more restrictions on this because
Yeah.
of the history and the location, but at the same time it is in a general industrial area.
Yeah, I know a little bit of the history of the Harper. From my understanding, you're kind of comparing apples and oranges here. The Harper, they're heavily focused on weddings. Their maximum occupancy is 250 people. Compared to here, you have 150.
Okay.
Parking for the Harper is provided on 4 to 5 off-site properties. Here, most of it's going to be on-site. And then from there, they benefit from a grade differential from the street. I think it's over
Right.
10 feet.
Right.
So that helps with any noise. And I think the only condition that I see similar to this one is that the music will all be conducted indoors, similar to this use.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Can I add a couple of things?
Yes, go ahead,
onto that?
Ms.
Thank
Brown.
you. I just wanted to also remind the commission that although right now we know this operator is planning to operate and run the facility, the entitlement does get approved and run with the land. So if there is ever a change in operation or they sell the business, then the next operator or owner would be subject to the same conditions, but it's not an approval for an operator, it's approval for the use. And then additionally, as some of the back and forth rounds of corrections were provided, this application does propose changing from sort of a retail or industrial space to the event use. And so there were a handful of building code requirements and upgrades that were part of that correction correspondence and making sure plans were updated to reflect capturing all of those things, exiting, and different building code requirements. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Commissioner Andrade?
Yes, Mr. Villalobos, if we can go back to slide 13, I'm trying to wrap my mind around how the parking situation is going to work. Because the location is, 1, 2, 3 units inwards. Valet is right in front of it, but the street is 3 units inwards. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm dropping off my car on 17th Street and then walking to the valet area.
No, no, thank you.
Can you make me, yeah.
Yeah,
can you
I'll
just-
I'll clarify and walk you through the site plan. So on 17th Street, there's 3 available driveways. However, the only driveway that would be used would be the center driveway. If you see those dark lines running across the center of the site,
Okay.
that's the vehicle movement. So people would pull in to the site and then they would pull up to that yellow valet area. They would give their keys to the attendee and then walk to the event venue, and the valet staff would then appropriately park to a designated parking space.
So essentially, one by one, cars would pull in
Correct.
and then parked somewhere layered in the back, right? At the back of the facility.
It'd be towards the rear, and then
Towards the
you have some towards the center of the site and also in the front.
Okay. Now, on the information about how they were going to employ the parking attendant, anywhere in our conditions of use, could we include something about, I think we have done this in other applications where we set an expectation to kind of no lingering out in front of the facility. Because I know that that's one of the primary concerns of our neighboring residents.
Yeah, so I think the use itself tries its best to stop any sort of lingering. There are, for example, alcohol, food, and music that would be seized 15 minutes before closing. There's also on-site security. One of their responsibilities is to make sure that no one's lingering on site. However, staff is happy to work with the commission if a condition like that is desired.
Okay, and then to build upon that on folks exiting the location promptly after the event is over. So I'm a patron and I valeted my car. Every car is being valeted, right? It's not an optional.
Not necessarily. So the valet is free. In inviting guests, there's going to be a focus to let them know that valet is available and free to patrons. But it's an option. It's not mandatory for every patron to use it.
Okay, so then and I'm sorry, I clicked something on my screen. It completely shut off. I don't know if someone can help me because it's black. But I'm working off of my printouts. So I'm a patron. I can park in the back.
Oh, sorry. You want to use this mic?
Thank you. So I don't want to use valet. I can park straight to the back of the nest through Monrovia. Is that
Oh, I see what you're
right?
getting.
Like how
I
if
see
I
what
don't
you're
want to
getting
use
at.
valet because
Yeah.
you're saying valet is optional
Yeah, I guess what I meant to say is that if you don't want to use valet, then you can park on the street.
on the street, like on 17th Street
Correct.
and Monrovia or whatever is happening back there. Okay, and so exiting, I imagine it's the same thing. Like how would if I did valet, go get my keys back in the middle section and get my car out and then exit out of 17th Street. I'm just trying to figure out the flow, right? Because our residents, neighboring residents are concerned about just kind of the activity that's going to happen post-event. So I'm just trying to understand how can the property owner or the event provider kind of facilitate a smooth entry and clearing out of the facility. And so the Nest has a fun parking situation here with this little middle alley and all of that. So it would be helpful to just to kind of maybe hear from the applicant on how do you hope to streamline the in and outflow of the location. Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Martinez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, Commissioner Rojas took my questions, and then Commissioner Dixon took a question. But I think I just want to emphasize one of Commissioner Rojas's, and I guess Commissioner Dixon too, about the corrections and the number of corrections. And just, this isn't really a question, but just like now you've heard from three of us, that seems like a high number of corrections. And like, what can we do in the future to ensure that we don't have as much back and forth to streamline the process? I won't expect you to answer that right now. That's like a general question. And then also in the general category that I kind of don't expect an answer to right now is event venue. I'm wondering if that event venues being in CUPs is covered in the study session we had last meeting, where they're covered under a broad category so that we won't have other event venues needing to go through a CUP.
Yeah, in that study session that we had last meeting with the Planning Commission, one of the topics that will be included in the modification to the land use matrix does include a definition for an event venue or an event center. I don't think that we have completely determined what that entitlement process will be for those and what zones and how that will apply, but that would be something that would be improved with that update to the zoning code.
Fair enough. Okay, now project-specific questions. Is alcohol proposed to be served at this site? And if so, do they need another permit for that? Or what is that situation?
So alcohol will be provided or served. This will be provided by third-party vendors that are licensed. So that would, through ABC, that'd be something that would be permitted.
Gotcha. Okay. I want to ask a few questions about some of the conditions. First, number 5, which is on page 34, is about the parking and parking shortages. This is kind of a legal question, but what is the relationship between this condition of approval and AB 2097? Is it preempted? Because it's kind of saying like, if something happens, then we might require something out of you regarding parking. And I'm wondering if this condition can only apply for event staff, because that's what AB 2097 says, or if it's broad enough to generally apply.
This is specific to staff and workers of the event venue. Yeah, it wouldn't apply to anything else just because AB 2097 specifically would only adhere to the event venue, and the requirement is only for.
However, staff did include this condition because, as we see in the findings required, there is still a requirement to, maintain a harmonious relationship with the neighborhood and other things like that. So the overall activity, even though we cannot regulate the amount of parking spaces, if there are parking impacts like that, we can work through the conditional use process to address those.
Okay. And then number 15. When we say 4 performers at any one time, we're really saying like four-person band maximum, and you can't have a 5-person band? Like if you have a mariachi with 6 people, we're not going to let that happen?
We wanted to be clear on what live entertainment meant. We talked to the applicant as far as what type of live entertainment they would have in their events. So they didn't see anything higher than a 4-piece band. I've seen mariachi surprisingly at 4, but that's very low for a band. But they can speak more to the type of events that they've hosted.
Cool.
Yeah.
Those are my questions. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Mendez, is there a graphic with vicinity map that you can pull up?
The closest would be slide 2. Let's see.
Okay, so for the audience's reference, what is the purple supposed to indicate here?
That is MG. That is our general industrial zone.
Okay, so I thought I was going to have one question. I'm going to have a couple now. So the mobile home park to the south is in a industrial zone, correct?
Correct.
So is the nearest residential zone to the northwest there?
If we're doing by project boundary, it'd be the senior mobile home. But if we're doing from the site, it's the outdoor event patio, then it would be that yellow zone property.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the 200-foot buffer, let's just say, is triggered by what's to the west, not by the...
It's actually triggered by the property on the south because we do project boundary.
Okay, but I just want to be very clear because the staff report says it's within 200 feet of a residential zone. So are you saying that it's got to be, it's the residential use, not the zone?
Oh, I see what you're saying. They would still both fall into that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just for orientation, that measurement is based on the lot itself, not the location of the tenant space.
That's correct.
Okay, so my understanding is that the tenant space, if it's 932 here on this map, is roughly 100 yards, 300 plus feet from the property line of the mobile home park, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right, any other questions, staff? All right,
Just a quick one. On
Yep, go ahead,
the
Commissioner
conditions of approval. So I do see the quiet enjoyment condition, and I appreciate, in response to Commissioner Martinez's question, sort of the clarification of that, and I understand why that's in there now. Typically, I kind of oppose that condition of approval in a general industrial zone, but in this context and the way staff was articulating it, I think that makes sense. Operational, we're trying to make sure that this is not going to create a conflict with the neighborhood, so that's what that condition of approval is in there for. And the way that it's worded is a little, I believe, a little more robust and normal, and allows, including the operational characteristics. I would think that at all doors, and we'll ask the applicant about this, is that something the city pushed for, or they said they're fine with?
Are we talking about condition number 15?
12, I'm sorry.
12. That's something that not only the city recommended, but it's also what the noise study analyzed.
Got it, okay, thank you. And let's see, there was one other I had a question about. And would you just kind of flesh out what the reason for 22 is? Is that, I haven't seen that recently, so I'm just curious about it.
Condition,
Of approval number 22 on page 36.
yeah, this was a similar condition that we've conditioned on other event venues. I believe the intent here is that there's no conflict of interest
Between the
city
on-site
staff.
security and any responding officers? Okay.
Correct.
And then, again, back to following up on my fellow commissioners' questions regarding, so anybody who's lived, I lived off 17th Street for many, many years, and the Pierce Street Annex was the bane of our existence when it closed. And so I'm assuming that 6 is where you're going to keep that, because there's nothing specifically about having a security guard in the conditions of approval. There's nothing specifically in the conditions of approval about maintaining peace in the parking lot kind of deal. But the applicant letter does mention that they would be doing that, and it does provide for staffing. And typically, condition of approval number 7 would sort of guarantee that they follow what they said in their applicant letter. And is that your understanding as well, or do you think it would be useful to include additional language? Or do you think that that encompasses if there's gathering in the parking lot?
Yeah, I mean, that should encompass that point, but if the commission desires a more specific condition in regards to lingering or on-site security, we're happy to work with the commission on a condition of approval.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, I will open the public hearing
Chair,
now. Oh,
I actually do have 2 more questions.
of
Just
course,
thought of them.
Commissioner Rojas, sorry.
Thank you. Could you bring up that slide that shows the parking? I think it was number 13, I think. I had a quick question regarding that. Yeah. So by my count, and as I was looking at this, 2 questions. Number 1 is the total parking spaces on the property itself, going from the front, 17th Street, all the way to the back, is it 47 or 48 spaces available?
47.
And are all of those to be used primarily by the valet, or is the valet going to be parking in the rear of the structure where the decomposed granite area is, and the other property that's adjacent to it? Is that going to be the only options, or is their intention to use all 47 spaces available?
The intention is to use all 47 spaces.
And then anything that isn't that would be the overflow parking on the street on 17th, et cetera, et cetera.
That's correct.
Okay, that's my question. Thank you.
Okay, any final questions? All right, I'll now open the public hearing and ask the applicant or applicant's representative to come to either podium. And I understand you have a presentation, but before you do, I'd appreciate if you could state your name for the record.
My name's Michael.
And Mackenzie.
Welcome. And then I need to ask you, have you read the conditions of approval and do you agree to those?
I have, yes.
Okay. You may make your presentation.
Hello, my name's Michael, and this is my business partner, Mackenzie. And firstly, we want to thank the Planning Committee for presenting our project and working so diligently with us this last year. And for those of you who don't know us or our background, the Nest actually started as a small retail store. The Nest actually started as a small retail store, and as the years passed, more and more people started to utilize the space as a place of gathering, and it only made sense for us to commit to that pivot and create a space for the community.
The Nest has become a place for gatherings for all types of events, collaborations, and celebrations. We've created a space that was meant to bring people together. As creators and business owners ourselves, we saw that the West Side was becoming more and more saturated with groups of like creators, entrepreneurs, and businesses like ourselves. And much more than that, we have hosted a number of family events offering kid-friendly activities, family photos, and pictures with Santa at no cost to the family. We've hosted nonprofit dinners supporting our local farmers and artisans, church events, and have been a meeting place for small business support and collaboration. We were a drop zone for donations during the LA fires and served as a coordination zone for meals, successfully delivering more than 1,400 meals to our first responders. The Nest is a place for connection.
In our 1.5 years of business as an event space, we had 0 complaints from the neighbors and have always put security and safety of our community and neighbors first. Rather, our first and only complaint from was for a community event that hadn't actually taken place yet. but was just being advertised. We immediately shut down operations to comply and become legitimate. That being our first priority has been a huge hand in why we were so successful and received well by the community. I know that there are a few concerns from neighbors, and while we haven't been active in any business in the last year, we hope you can all rest assured that when we begin operations again, we will only enhance our safety protocols that have been so successful in the past. How we will ensure that is this meeting here. We want to formalize and come to an agreement with our neighbors that truly are the reason we're still in business, and with the city to maintain a good relationship with the community far beyond the west side.
No, it's not that one.
The next one.
Just a little bit about us and our operations. While we may have some office hours during the week, our events only take place on the weekends and are over at 10 p.m. Oh, next picture. We've designed our operations to fit within the existing neighborhood. Events are primarily held indoor, and we don't operate or advertise as a nightlife or party-driven venue. Our intention is to complement the surrounding area, not disrupt it.
Just like we have in the past, we take potential concerns seriously and have put measures in place to address them, and we've come here today to formalize those measures. We have done the work to ensure that parking and noise remain a non-issue like it has in the past. The conditions provided and accepted tonight only reiterate our effort to maintain a respectful relationship with our neighbors and community. We have the staff to support this initiative. We have a security guard, valet, and parking attendants. We have venue managers there at all times. Outside of our employees, our vendor family has been carefully selected, and a lot of them are here in the audience tonight. We are not a latchkey space. Everyone involved in our business have the same goal in mind and respect our venue as their own. We truly believe that the Nest adds value by supporting local creatives, small businesses, and community-driven experiences, and we're proud of what we built so far and committed to continuing in a way that is respectful, compliant, and positive for the neighborhood. I did want to address Commissioner Rojas about the air conditioner. We do have air conditioning and heating. The windows, they only crack open, so we do have ventilation throughout the building. And then I wanted to kind of go over our current valet habits and security habits with Commissioner Andrade. We don't allow any lingering on-site or outside of the gate. We actually have our venue manager and security guard on-site there to make sure that it is not just get out of our doors at 10 p.m., but get out of our doors, the street. We close the gate and we make sure that everyone has already entered their car safely or done a ride share. And Commissioner Dixon, I made a note about the staffing for security, the anti-lingering around the gate. That's a practice that we've been practicing since we started, so we would have no issues adding specific language to that condition.
We're done.
Do we leave now?
No,
or?
no.
Okay.
I didn't realize you were done. Okay. Thank you very much, Michael and Mackenzie. Commissioners' questions, Commissioner Rojas.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'd like to thank you for your feedback and what seems to be an overall willingness and understanding of people's concerns. That's really what my questions are geared for, is to make sure that everybody can find that happy medium, and it seems like you're making that effort. I do appreciate you talking about the air conditioning because, again, that's I'm asking these questions specifically because the community has brought this up about noise, and it's understandable. We want to create an environment and a space for our residents to have something that they feel is valuable and not problematic out the door. So we want to make sure we address that with them. I did have a question for you regarding, I've been hearing remodeling, and I looked through the packet that we received, but I didn't see anything specific of the remodeling. And when I drove the location, I did see the doors, and it did look like they weren't something that opened. So that's where my question started there. But the back area that is considered the decomposed granite, I didn't see anything in terms of what you guys plan on doing on the remodel. Are you going to remodel that section, or what are we talking about? Or is it just the inside with the restrooms and that kind of thing that we saw?
Just the inside. We'd be adding restrooms to accommodate to accommodate our occupancy and ADA ramp.
Okay, but the outside area is just pretty much going to stay as it is?
Correct it. Aside from an ADA ramp that we're adding for
Got it.
access.
Okay, that explains everything then. That's, checks it off. All right, thank you.
All right, any other questions? Commissioner Martinez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So you mentioned a few examples of community events that you've held in the past. Are you still planning on continuing that and having events for the community in the future?
I think we would need to come before the planning committee again and discuss some conditions around that with our occupancy being 150 and our parking being what it is. I think that there would have to be some special requests for the community events that we used to be able to throw.
Got it. Okay. That might be covered by a special events permit. Thank you, Commissioner Dixon. I see here on this slide you have an on-site contact and a phone number. Can you talk more about what I'll just call like a good neighbor commitment, and how can people reach out to you if they might have any issues should this be approved?
Yeah, we are an open door neighbor, and it is not lost on us how scary a public notice mailer can seem. But we have been neighbors now for almost 3 years. And so we want to continue that relationship with them, whether they, knew we were in business or not. Maybe that they didn't know just shows how respectful we've been in our space. But we have our phone number there. We can post our email. During our office hours, our doors are open and anybody can come in and voice their concerns, and we would love for them to voice those to us first so we can handle that.
Great. And I'll just ask to confirm that there's a city noise ordinance and that you're already planning on following that.
Yes.
Cool. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, Commissioner Dixon.
And so are there any of the conditions of approval that you're not excited about, but you're going to agree to? And the reason I'm asking that question is because I'm impressed that you've limited the operations to the extent you have. And it speaks to the fact that you intend to not have this be a giant, raucous event center. And so I do appreciate that, but I want to make sure that you're not limiting yourself too much.
Right.
Simply because of the nature of the business, and having been to several of these types of venues, it's a detailed operation. You're taking care of people's special events, their brand launches, their active, like you're saying. So I just want to make sure that you're not limiting yourself too much. But if this is the parameters and these are the things you want to do, great.
Thank you for that question. It was a little bit tough for us to wrap our heads around closing the door. One of the biggest aesthetically pleasing parts of our venue is that it is a massive door that, lends easy on the eyes, that we have a beautiful landscape right outside. So it almost feels like one giant covered patio instead of two separate spaces. But we know that noise is, one of the top concerns. So that would be our only, that was our only hard pill to swallow, I would say. But
I'm not saying that anybody will propose this, but if for instance, someone were to say when music is being played, or when there's amplification of voices or something, like, if you're having an auction or something and there's someone standing up there, yelling bingo or whatever, would you be able, could you think about having that without music or without amplification, a condition that said that, would that be something where you'd want to have the door open if it's, because it says all indoor event activities,
right.
which includes non-music, non-amplification, for instance.
We would like to get a little bit more creative on that specific condition if we could. But again, our type of event is not comparable to some of the surrounding event centers. We are smaller, and most of the space is used for our own decor. instead of standing assembly square footage. That, I would say, if there was a way for us to challenge that condition, to just have it open and under a certain octave, that would be something that we would find beneficial for our business, for sure.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right. Before I open public comment, I will invite you back if you'd like to speak to any public comments that you think require a response. So you can sit down and hang out for a bit. I'll open public comment now. If you'd like to speak to this item, please come to either podium. And if you're joining by Zoom, use the raise hand option, or joining by phone, please press *9. All right, you have the floor.
Good evening, Commission. Jay Humphrey, Costa Mesa resident. The applicants sound very genuine and very convinced that they can handle all these things that happen. To Mr. Rojas's comment, when you have 75 people in a closed environment and it's summer night and there's dancing, I can guarantee you there's going to be heat, and if you don't have air conditioning, you're going to have a problem. They've certainly answered that. I would think a condition of approval would be to continue to maintain that air conditioning to minimize the likelihood they'll be forced to open the doors during the time they have amplified music. A condition that actually says when the doors are open for egress and what have you of people using the patio, that there would not be music at that time, amplified music at that time, to keep the music inside. They clearly want to keep the neighborhood happy, and we can help them with those kind of choices that we try to achieve. And on parking, if you get a group that's 150, clearly their on-site parking is not going to probably be adequate. They're going to require off-site parking, which is going to require people walking in and out of the facility. So it needs to be aware of that. It sounds to me like what I've heard tells me that these applicants want to make the neighborhood keep them in their arms and stay together. And that's a big plus for me that we don't look to that. But we do have to be concerned about things that happen solely because of the circumstances and not because what the applicant is looking for. Remember that we've had a venue here, it's a gym that opens their access door, and we've had multiple council comments about the noise not bothering the neighborhood, even though they're supposed to keep that door shut. It's a fire door, for God's sakes. But they open it anyway because it gets hot in the gym while people are working out. I just look at those issues as ways that we can help the applicant make sure that they provide exactly the services they want to the community and live up to their desire. There's my hearing, as I just said, is these people are absolutely dedicated to making sure their business succeeds and that they keep the neighborhood happy. So I would look to making sure that they have that opportunity, and I would look forward to adding some conditions and making approval. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak? Before you start, if others do want to speak, please line up by the podium so we can do this as efficiently as possible. Go ahead.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioner. My name is Kathleen Lurston. I'm a resident of Playport Mobile Home Park, which is across the street from the proposed venue event. And we have concerns that the noise and the parking is going to be an issue for our residents. Some of our residents only have parking for 1 or 2 cars in their driveway, so they actually park on 17th Street. If they have an event and they have valet parking and there's people that don't want to use the valet parking, they're going to park on 17th. So that's going to be probably an issue for our residents don't want to park there. So that's another concern that we have. Also, the noise level. A lot of our neighbors go home, go to sleep early. They're old and they're, a lot of them are sick and whatever. So if these events are ending at 10 o'clock and people leaving, they're going to chit-chat by their cars or whatever, if they parked on 17th, and, that can get loud sometimes if they've been drinking or whatever. So that's another concern that we have of the noise level before and after the events. Also, we think that, we appreciate that they want to do that, and we're all for that, but we're just concerned that it's going to interrupt and disturb our neighbors. We have 102 homes in our park, and right along 17th Street, those homes are occupied. We don't have any renters, nothing like that. So these are all homeowners in this park. So we would like to, really consider that maybe this oppose that. Of our 102 residents, 67 signed a petition opposing this, which is 2/3. So we feel that we want to make sure that our park stays quiet. We don't have any problems with parking, and it continues to stay as nice as it is right now. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Hi, good evening. Thank you, Chair, Commissioners. Denny Pender, I'm here on behalf of the landlord. We have two very professional girls here that we've signed a lease with, and it takes a lot to get a really good tenant in these buildings and to believe in them and to understand what their process is all about. And they've been nothing but professional. They are very responsive to our needs, and we have this amazing relationship. So I think the community really is in good shape with them. I think they'll respond, they'll act, they're quick to respond, they don't wait for issues that come up. And we're very happy to have them, and I think there'll be a great attribute to the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Linda Liebig. I'm a resident of Clayport. And can you put the picture up of the valet parking? That plan. Okay, I wanted to address handicapped and code. If you enter off of 17th Street, you walk past the valet area, and there's a walkway between the building and the outside area. And that's also the same way you get into the building with the doors there. Do they have to submit a landscaping plan to you?
This is the time for you to ask questions. We don't respond.
Oh, okay.
directly.
Well,
Sorry.
okay, as far as being a handicapped area, that whole area walking down between the two buildings and then going to your left to get into the other area, that is all pavers. And I have walked over there, I have taken pictures, I was in flip-flops and found it very hard to walk on those cobblestones. Now, if a handicapped person in a wheelchair and someone has to push them, that is going to be hard. Someone with a cane will totally not be able to navigate that area. So I would like to see someone to look into that before a decision is made, or whatever you have to do to change that.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name is Patricia Shannon. I also live at Clayport. I'm not opposed. I mean, I just learned about it and have read up on it and everything. But all I can say is there are a lot of residents there. There are single unit homes, single family homes, mobile home parks. So it's not, I mean, I know it's zoned industrial, but there are a lot of residents there. Anyway, all I can say is that it's the quietest neighborhood, like a lot of neighborhoods are. And we can hear a pin drop 7 nights a week. So we're going to hear anything. And yeah, no, it might not be disturbing. I know, music can be loud, all that. You can hear it through walls. I'm I know they're concerned about that and things will be fine, but I'm just saying, right now, you can hear a pin drop and anything else we'll hear. And I'm concerned mostly more about the loitering and the street parking. Our residents do use the street parking. So I'd hate for them to have to, be concerned about having to park, more blocks away. And also people coming through our park to take a shortcut to the club, to the venue. So those are just some of my concerns and thoughts. So thank you.
Thank you. Anybody
Hi,
else?
thank you. My name is Emily. I am an event planner, and I've worked a ton of events alongside Michael and Mackenzie. And I just wrote down a couple things that I wanted to say. The Nest has become a true cornerstone of our community, offering more than just a physical space. It's cultivated connection, creativity, and opportunity in a way that we really need. Through their generosity, the Nest has opened its doors to countless individuals and small businesses, including my own. Their willingness to share their space has directly contributed to the growth and success of so many, creating a ripple effect that has strengthened our local creative and entrepreneurial community. Michael and Mackenzie, alongside their partners, have devoted an incredible amount of time, energy, and personal resources to build and maintain this space for the community. What they have created isn't accidental, but it's the result of deep care, sacrifice, and genuine commitment to others. Beyond business, the Nest has served as a meaningful gathering place, one that is both beautiful and intentional. It has brought people together in ways that feel increasingly rare, fostering genuine community among creatives and community members alike. They have also gone above and beyond by hosting charity drives and giving back to families in need, demonstrating a deep commitment to serving others. Michael and Mackenzie just truly are really incredible people. They care so deeply about the vendors, the people that they serve. They care about everybody. I've seen them both cry and, really, really care so much about the opinions, everything that people are going through on a really personal level. So I know that community members, all of your concerns are heard and really, really deeply cared about. But their work ethic, integrity, and character are exceptional. They consistently show up with generosity, thoughtfulness, and a genuine desire to uplift others. I can confidently say that my business would not be where it is without their support, and I know that I'm far from alone in that sentiment. I strongly encourage you to support the Nest as they continue to serve and enrich our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Bob, and I don't have anything written down and wasn't prepared to speak, so I hope I can stay on track. If I get off track, let me know. Somebody else mentioned that there's a Playport mobile home park there, senior community. That's one of them. I live in the other one, which is on the other side of the street, which is Greenleaf. And the lady mentioned that there was about 100 homes at Playport, and there's about 100 homes at Greenleaf as well. And the main thing that I'm concerned about, and that we all share in common, is our home is our place of peace. And that's what we want it to be. Regardless of whether you live where we live or you live wherever you live, your home is your place of peace. And you want it like that. And we all deserve that. And the noise level is going to bounce around over there. I know that for sure. I'm a musician. I've been playing music all my life. I know what noise and sound levels are. I was at Woodstock too, so so I know what those noise levels are. And I'm concerned about that as a homeowner there. To put a business, yes, it is an industrial site for sure, but there are homes that are in that area too. And I wouldn't want to see our peace be gone. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Charlotte, and I'm the owner of Sip Sip Mobile Bar. We are a Costa Mesa-based business, and I've been working very closely with Michael McKenzie these past few years. And through that time, I've seen firsthand how they operate with a high level of professionalism, organization, and genuine care. And what my colleague before me, Emily, said, that just as her business wouldn't be where it is without Michael McKenzie and the Nest, is I 100% agree. We would not be where we are without these two. What stands out to me the most, that the Nest isn't just a venue that pumps out events. They focus and they're intentional the types of events that they host there, how they bring people together. They create real opportunities for the local vendors, the small businesses, the creatives, and there's so much collaboration that goes on in that space. And I've seen so much growth and expansion in small business in Costa Mesa because of them. I want to speak as the alcohol and mobile bartending service provider at the venue. We are insured, and at Sip Sip, we take the responsibility of serving alcohol in the community very, very seriously. And we do this by making sure our team is properly trained on how to, we follow strict protocols and responsible serving to the guests. All of our drinks we use a bar tool called a jigger to measure out the alcohol. There's no free pouring, and we do not serve any shots to the guests. Our team, essentially, this prevents any overpouring, and of course, in the end, we want to make sure the guests and property is safe. And then speaking as someone who's worked with them behind the scenes for many of their events, I've seen the level of care and intentional they bring to everything that they do. The Nest is a well-run, thoughtful operation that prioritizes both guest experience and safety. I am proud to be one of the vendors that works alongside them, and I support their continued presence in the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Hello, my name is Gabrielle, and I'm a staff member at the Nest. I've had the opportunity of working with Michael and McKenzie for a little bit, and they have a great attention to detail. Their business mindset is beyond belief. Their attention to detail and every concern is very articulate, and they are very quick to address any concerns and are very willing to learn not only from you guys as our city, but also from the neighbors and the staff, and any complaints that arise, they're very quick to address those things. I also know that, just knowing them personally, this isn't just a business to them. It's a very it's a passion project, which means that every decision is done with thoughtfulness and care and concern and mindfulness. The way that they curate not only a beautiful space, but also a beautiful community really speaks for itself. I also have a history of working at an event venue, specifically one in a similar regard in San Clemente with the same concerns as our neighbors. And as a staff member and a venue manager, addressing those concerns and being quick to attack any potential concerns is the first important part of our staff. And we are very quick to work with our internal staff as well as our security to mitigate any concerns, navigating both noise complaints, alcohol situations, as well as the doors, noises, and any lingering. I know that is a common concern, but as someone who's worked in an event venue, that is very not quite of a problem as you think it might be, because event ends at 9 o'clock. At 9:45 is when bar services end, music ends, and doors are kind of closed to guests at 10. And with valet and vendors cleaning up, they are very quick. Guests are very quick to leave. Ride shares are the most we push for those as event staff. And so lingering and all of that it's also not fun to hang out in a parking lot. There's it's not really a vibe. We do push people to our local businesses, landers, like bars, whatever. So the hanging out in the street isn't really a concern, and that's been my experience with the venues that I've worked in prior experiences. So please know that the event staff as well as these owners really do care and are really considerate about all of these decisions that are being made. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Madison. I am also a Newport Beach, Costa Mesa based event business owner. I also formerly was the tenant of the very front private office on site that was shared with the Nest. I've known Michael and Mackenzie for about 3.5 years, and I just wanted to point out that they have been very considerate and very courteous tenants to not only myself, but all of the other units on the property. They maintain very good relationships with all of these tenants. Everybody speaks very highly of them, and if there's ever been a minor issue of parking or miscommunication, they are the first to come with a solution to maintain a space of harmony on this lot. And I also wanted to point out something. As I had this front private office, 17th Street is a very busy street. It's an industrial area. There's an elementary school down the street. There's many auto body shops. You have many motorcycles, construction vehicles, school buses, cars, all throughout the day. Speaking as somebody who had that front office, I just wanted to point out that I believe a lot of that traffic acts as a natural sound barrier. And I'm familiar with some of the residents of the mobile home, as I met many of them, and a lot of them would walk their dogs past every day, and they're always very kind and considerate people. And I think, they're maintaining their comfort and their peace of their home is very important. But I just wanted to point out that it's not necessarily the most silent area. It's a heavily populated, trafficked area. And speaking as somebody who also attended events at the Nest prior to their temporary closure, I've been inside when there has been amplified sound. I am also, being a guest, I've walked outside, I've gone to my car, and I have observed personally how the sound doesn't travel too far once you get past that front gate. So just as a witness to that, I want to share that, and that Michael and Mackenzie are incredible people. They've also provided many job opportunities for local small businesses and vendors, and I just think they should be acknowledged for the pillar they've created in the event community in Orange County. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, it's on. Hi, my name's Martin Kresge. I also am a resident of Playport. I heard about this thing, and some of my neighbors all got up together. I'm not a NIMBY. I said, okay, sounds interesting. I have some thoughts. Let me come to the planning meeting. Let me find out more before I form my opinion on what this is all about. I'm glad I came. I love the business plan. I love the focus on the community and gathering, and it just really, really, really took me. I was very impressed with it. I'm also impressed with our friend from Greenleaf, bringing up the point, and Patty, the point that, you can hear a pin drop in our residences at night. Yeah, 17th Street is busy. Not after 7 o'clock at night. Nobody goes down that street. There is no noise abatement from traffic or anything else like that. And my question for you guys, and I know I'm not supposed to ask questions, there was a noise study done. Was it done at night? Because that's the only thing that's relevant. If that noise study was done during the day, the findings aren't applicable. So that would be a question for you guys to explore. I don't live directly across the street. Many of my friends do. I live a street over. But you can still hear everything that's going on. So that remains a concern for me. The parking, I think, could be worked out. Nobody's really thrilled with it. I, too, have walked over there, and it's hard for me to imagine a row of cars in there trying to back-to-back valet in the limited space that's available. That's not to say it's not possible. Just for me, I don't have an experience in that. So I too went to Woodstock. Unfortunately, I did not go to Woodstock. Unfortunately, I lived about 3 hours away by car, and my girlfriend wanted to do something else that weekend. And I don't even remember what it was. But anyhow, I just hope the whole thing is done to everybody's satisfaction. My last concern is also the lingering afterwards. People are going to go in, they're going to drink. Yes, it's over at 9:45. One of my initial concerns was the time frame. And now I see, okay, we're going to shut down at 9:45. Okay, give them 15, 20 minutes to finally get people out of there. People are going to be out there. And
Yep. Yeah, your time is up. Yeah, yeah.
the whole thing about security, I would like to see that in the actual conditions.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else in chambers? Last call. If you've already spoken,
Yes.
okay.
Is that okay?
No.
Okay.
All right, last call for first timers. Do we have anybody on Zoom?
Mr. Chair, no Zoom.
Okay, or phone?
I don't have an official speech prepared, but I will say that I know Michael McKenzie both on a professional basis and a personal basis the last few years, and they are just wonderful people. And something I'm really deep-rooted in Costa Mesa. I have 2 young children that go to school here. We have a home here, and what I can diligently say is we have also brought in a lot of amazing business and people that would not be familiar with the west side of Costa Mesa. It's traveled on into businesses into 17th Street, and people going to dinner over there and people doing other things over there. So it's really opened up an eye, too, to that area, which I want to speak to because I don't think anybody has spoken to it yet. And so not only have they created and crafted a community space, it's also kind of opened the eyes to this community and growing it and things of that nature. So I just want to say that they're just wonderful, and I couldn't say, and like, when they have an event or they have a community gathering, it is so clean afterwards. Like every piece of, any sort of trash or lingering, there is none of that. I have been there through the start and through the end and even after the day after, and it's beautifully picked up and maintained, and definitely just great people to have over in that space because it's definitely brought a lot of joy to the community and brought a lot of business to me, too. So thank you. And I'm Lee with Lee Rose Events. Sorry.
Right, thank you. All right. Ms. Green, do we have anybody on Zoom or phone? No? Okay. I am going to close public comments. Commissioners, do you have any questions? I'm going to give the applicant an opportunity to come back if they want to speak. You don't have to, but you're more than welcome to.
First, I wanted to thank our neighbors for coming in and voicing their concerns, and we hear you. And I don't want to dwell on the past too much, but I do want you to know that we have been your neighbor for almost 3 years, and we had a successful business because of you and your neighbors. We've had some of you in our store multiple times. We've seen you, a couple of your tenants even come to some of our community events in the past. While we haven't been practicing any business for the last year, I do want you to know that we want to come to a resolution with some of your concerns, and I don't want you to feel bullied into accepting our business by any means. Our success means a lot to us, but we owe a lot of it to you and the rest of the community. So I want you to know that we hear you and we want to make sure that these conditions make sense for you and us.
All right, thank you. Yes, go ahead, Commissioner Andrade. If you might, Michael, there's one question from Commissioner Andrade.
Thank you so much. A practice that we've taken in the commission in similar businesses that are very close and adjacent to residential is establishing a 6-month evaluation after opening, just to get a sense of what does it feel like so that your neighbors can see what the operation looks like once you guys are technically back again live. Would that be something you would be open to?
It would be something that we'd be open to. One of my concerns around that would be that we would potentially have events that book way further than that 6-month date. And if there are any changes to our business operations after that, the communication that we would have to have with our paid patrons, should there be any issues after that study.
Yeah, because that window would allow for residents to kind of raise any concerns, right? You're demonstrating, you're doing your due diligence in addressing all their concerns, but that would allow that window. Let's just verify any concerns here, and if not, proceed as outlined in the application.
Right. So are you proposing that we could potentially, after that study, potentially introduce a couple of new conditions, or maybe reiterate some of the written ones?
Should any concerns arise.
Okay.
But as you're stating here, and in your application currently, you're putting in the means, it sounds like you're open to having details or specificity on the security, on the workflow of how parking would work and all of that, so.
Yes. And a couple of the conditions that have been presented are already within our business practice. They just would be more legitimate and signed by us.
Okay, great.
All right, thank you. All right, I'm going to close the public hearing. May I have a motion? Sure.
Just a quick question. I was reviewing the noise study, and it looked like on page 66, which is the survey data, and just help me if I'm not understanding, it looks like all of those measurements were taken around midday. Is that maybe in the early afternoon? Is that your understanding as well?
That's correct. I believe it's from anywhere from 11 to 1 p.m.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure there wasn't nighttime ambient noise hiding in there somewhere because.
I can get clarity from our noise consultant who's
That's
actually.
okay.
Okay.
That's okay. Yeah, that was a quick question on that. Okay.
Okay. Commissioner Martinez?
Let me ask a couple quick questions before I make this motion.
Sure.
So first, since I didn't do a site visit, there's a 10-foot high fence on the northwest of the landscaped area, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that's pretty tall. Is this like a covered patio? Like, is there some kind of thing up top, or is it just open to the sky?
It's open to the sky.
Okay. With condition of approval number 9, that says that events are limited to the hours on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, would that preclude having a community event through a special events permit?
It would not.
Okay, so they would still be allowed to do that even with that condition. Good. Okay, in that case, I'll make my motion, which is that the Planning Commission find that the project is exempt from the provisions of the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to Section 15301 existing facilities. Approve conditional use permit PCUP 250015 to allow the operation of an event venue with live entertainment and dancing, including on-site valet parking at 932 West 17th Street, and approve minor conditional use permit to allow associated outdoor event operations at 932 West 17th Street, and amend condition of approval number 12 to allow for the north door to be open during events, and further add that if noise issues arise, the operator shall institute appropriate operational measures necessary to minimize or eliminate the problem, including but not limited to closing the north door. That is my motion.
So motion by Commissioner Martinez. I see a second by Commissioner Dixon. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes. First, I want to speak specific to that amendment. A lot of the concerns that I saw were related to the residential property to the south of this proposed use. This new amendment would allow for that north door to be open, which is directed away from the Playport Mobile Home Park. So hopefully that minimizes the noise a bit. Furthermore, any noise issues can be reported through our city, through code enforcement, for regulating our noise ordinance, and through our conditions of approval. So I'm confident that this applicant has stated that they will work with the community. They want to be a good neighbor. So I'm confident that that will be a good choice. This applicant has shown through already operating a business here at this site that they are that they want to be a good neighbor, that they're hosting community events, that they are very popular with their vendors and their landlord, and everyone has that has worked with them has spoken very highly of this applicant. So I want to further encourage business opportunities and local businesses here in the city of Costa Mesa. And I want to make sure that business can thrive. As it relates to just general comments and perhaps not project specific, a one-year timeline is a very long time to be working through this application process. Hopefully we can shorten that in the future. Having event venues go through a CUP, hopefully we won't have that in the future. I think just anything we can do to generally expedite the process and procedure to allow for good local businesses here in the city of Costa Mesa will be a good thing to do, and I'm happy to support this application. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Dixon.
And yes, thank you so much. I was going to limit it to non-amplified, non-music, but your extra conditions with the issues that may arise give me some comfort. There is the residential over north as well. However, it's not as immediately adjacent. I'm in very much support of this. I think it's very, very impressive that the applicant has gone through so many hoops to do this sort of operation there. And I think it's because you get a conditional use permit because you want to make sure that you're not importing a problem into a neighborhood and you're not creating an issue for the neighbors. I live over on the west side and I walk my dog down in that area when I'm not over on my other house right now because of a remodel. But regardless, it is dead silent later at night. So I absolutely agree with what the residents are saying. Dead silent. So this is a very highly conditioned conditional use permit for this area and this use. And I appreciate the applicant's willingness to put this many constraints on their operation. I think it speaks to the fact that they do have a very focused, specific type of operation that is very well received. And, you know, it's interesting, we have all of the folks from the surrounding neighborhood with 67 people saying, hold on guys, what's going on here? But we also have a tremendous amount of support from the community as well as that these folks have touched. And I think that the way this is conditioned with the modification that Commissioner Martinez proposed in his motion, I think that this will be a beneficial use for this area and that we'll hear about it really, really quickly if it's not. So I hope that that is never the case because that would impact your business and that I hope that the neighbors can be very comfortable with this and not have any issues at all. So I'm very much in support. Thank you.
Any other comments, commissioners? Commissioner Rojas.
Yeah, I want to echo what both Commissioner Martinez and Commissioner Dixon have said. This one, obviously, there was a lot of different sides being heard here, but I do believe that the applicant is making a good faith effort and the staff that they've worked with, you know, speaks volumes, especially because of what you said, that you've already been operating, you haven't had any complaints, and you're just going to continue that and more legitimized. And I hope that that gives the residents faith on that because I do believe that you will be good neighbors and you will honor that. And especially with the modifications of giving you the ability to open the door, and I believe you'll be responsible and respectful towards the community neighbors, so I will be supporting the motion.
Commissioner Andrade?
Yes, would Commissioner Martinez and Dixon be open to including a 6-month evaluation to give some room should any concerns arise and be able to come back to address those issues?
Commissioner Andrade Villarta, we've previously had conditions similar to this one where the applicant returns in a 6-month period and nothing has happened. And I feel like that is simply adding more process and procedure. I think the conditions that we have now requiring that, for example, the noise be limited to 60 decibels from the middle of the patio, our existing noise ordinance in the city of Costa Mesa, our code enforcement procedures should be enough to regulate this applicant and for any concerns to arrive through those processes such that we don't need to come back to this application in 6 months. So I think it's good as is.
But procedurally, it just means, I mean, this is for staff, right? If no concerns arise, then everything continues as is, right? There's not an additional step or review that has to be done to move forward.
Correct. If they are operating with no issues, there's no additional steps in the process.
But it does still require staff report and additional coordination with the applicant. And then if at that time there are proposed changes to the conditions, they'd have to pay for an additional noticing package, make modification to the CUP if needed. So that's just something to consider.
Right. Yeah, and something to consider that we have hundreds of residents in the vicinity that have expressed very serious concerns. So I just want to give some room to ensure that everything works out smoothly. I'm, again, also very supportive of a business like this. It's very exciting to have something like this in our community. I just want to ensure that our residents are protected.
Yeah, and if those residents do have concerns or issues, I would encourage them to contact code enforcement to make those concerns known and to rewind this video that we're currently on and find the applicant's phone number that was in that slideshow and give them a call so that those concerns can be addressed at the appropriate time.
So should code enforcement say, and I'm not saying this will happen, should there be code enforcement calls, from the staff's perspective, what would happen? Wouldn't the same thing have to happen? Come back, make adjustments, meet requirements, fines? I don't know. What would be next?
Chair, this is Director Tai, if I could answer that.
Yes, go ahead, Director Tai.
Thank you. To answer Commissioner Andrade's question about how the code enforcement procedure, if at any time there were a complaint of an alleged violation of the conditional use permit, code enforcement would conduct an investigation and confirm whether there's a violation. And if there were, and then at that time, as Planning Manager Caron mentioned, if at that time the applicant mentioned that their operations had evolved and that they desired to change a characteristic of their approved CUP or said condition of approval, then they would have to come back. Otherwise, it would simply stay at the staff code enforcement level where code enforcement would advise of the violation, advise the business that they had to operate within the scope of their CUP. And then if the business did not do that, there would then be citations that would ensue, a couple of those, and then staff would initiate a discussion with the Planning Commission about potential revocation proceedings. So I just wanted to walk through the process, but the short answer to the question is no. A code enforcement call and a code enforcement violation does not automatically bring the application back to Planning Commission. So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Commissioner Klepek.
I'll be supporting the motion. I think that this applicant has already jumped through a lot of hoops. In an industrial area, the noise study shows even a worst case situation, the noises found were very low. They went through several rounds of review. They offered a phone number. They've been invited in. So, I think I wouldn't support a 6-month review because that does add staff time and additional bureaucracy to an already long process. So there are several areas I think where any concerns could already be addressed. Thanks.
Thank you. I just want to echo the comments of my commissioners. I'll be supporting this. I don't want to belabor every point. The only one I do want to make is I'm impressed with the applicant's exercise of restraint for what you plan at this location. I would have expected a much more intensive use. And I think that what Commissioner Martinez offered as far as the conditions not only appropriately addresses the residents' concerns, but also helps. Basically, you were not handicapped from the beginning. I think there's a vision that I saw walking the site for what this event space should be. It's thoughtfully planned and designed, and I think we want you to have the best opportunity to succeed here. So with that, I would like to call for the question.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you, Brenda. All right, that decision is final unless appealed to the City Council within 7 days. We have one more item this evening. No old business. We have new business item number 1. Ms. Green, will you please read the title for that, or Ms. Tarrant?
Thank you. This is the General Plan Conformity Resolution for the City of Costa Mesa's 1-year fiscal year 26-27 and 5-year fiscal year 26-27 to 30-31 capital improvement programs. Presentation by Mr. Yang, City Engineer.
Good evening, Mr. Yang.
Good evening, good evening, Mr. Chairman and honorable members of the planning. Should I wait a little bit?
Yeah, just wait 1 second. No. If you wouldn't mind, if you're in the audience, if you could take your conversations outside, please. Yeah. No lingering. All right. Sorry, Mr. Yang, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and honorable members of the Planning Commission. My name is Sung Yang, and I'm your city engineer. And tonight I have the distinct privilege of presenting this General Plan Conformity Resolution for the City of Costa Mesa's 1-year and 5-year capital improvement program. Normally, our Public Works Director, Mr. Roger Setharama, would be giving this presentation to this body, but he's enjoying his vacation over in Europe, and we definitely wish him well. So, to begin, the scope of review for the Planning Commission is that the Planning Commission's scope of review is to determine the general plan conformance for the projects within the capital improvement program, or otherwise known as CIP. These considerations, such as the project selection, budget allocations, prioritization and phasing, and project details, fall within the City Council scope of review and also decision. So let's have a little overview of the capital improvement program, or CIP, process. So the CIP budget, this is the slide before you. It's financed from multiple funding sources. As you can see, it can include federal, state, and county and local funds. The funding sources may have different restrictions. It also regards with eligible projects, record retention schedules, and also reporting. What's also involved are multiple levels of governmental oversight, coordination, approval, and also auditing. It also requires coordination from all city departments, the city attorney's office, as well as related grantors. And also the threshold, or the financial threshold, I should say, within the City of Costa Mesa for a CIP project to be qualified as such is $30,000. Now, for these CIP projects, typically they're a multi-year program. There are some programs that might be finished within a year, but the vast majority of them takes more than a year to go from cradle to grave in terms of completion. Also, the next round of project priorities are also identified within the CIP. And most projects undergo 7 distinct phases within multiple years. Number 1 of which is the project identification, which is the idea of the project is developed, the design phase, then the bidding phase, also the contract selection and ultimate award, and project completion and ongoing maintenance and repair throughout the years. Now, the Costa Mesa Public Works Department is an award-winning department. As you can see before you, the multiple awards that our department has received from all divisions within our department. Our CIP programs encompass both current year and ongoing projects and future year projects, and we're dedicated to provide the best quality product for our constituents and the community of Costa Mesa. Here's a brief overview. The projects were identified based on City Council priorities, goals, and objectives by commissions such as this body, committees, and community feedback, the citywide infrastructure and facility needs assessments, department requests, and also budgetary constraints. So these are the progenitors of what a typical CIP project can come about. The CIP also includes general fund allocation to meet minimum maintenance of effort, or MOE, requirements for gas tax, and especially for our Measure M2 from OCTA. Little quick facts. We're recommending 41 projects. The total CIP amount is roughly $34 million. And for future bond financing, we have set aside for $12 million. So what are the funding sources? I won't go through each and every one of these, as you can see those before you, but just to pick off a couple, our fiscal 26-27 CIP, one-year CIP, includes bond financing, grant funds, gas tax, traffic impact fees, and park development fees, for a total of almost $34 million. So this attachment is within your packet, so it's a little hard to see on this PowerPoint, but you have it before you, and this is the one-year fiscal year 26-27 CIP. And that's our transportation. And let's go through these categories. You can see from the pie chart, our programs are primarily funded through these colored pies. Facilities is a little bit over 16 million, parks close to 1.8 million, our streets about 8.8 million, and transportation a little over 7 million. So what are our proposed CIP projects for the upcoming fiscal year in 26-27? The department is proud to showcase, number one, the citywide alley improvement project, which is our annual project. This project was awarded the contract actually during the last city council meeting on April 21st. This is to convert a lot of our old alleys, and this started back as far as back in 2007 with an alley assessment, and is to replace all of our public alleys with asphalt to concrete. It's a multi-year project, and we're coming near the end of this project. And for the next upcoming phases, we're going to finish about the remaining alleys, which will total around 14. This is the police department chillers replacement project. The original police department chillers are more than 50 years old. The replacement chillers have much more energy efficient than our current models. And we project that the start date for this project is the fall of 2026. Here's the Police Department Emergency Communication Center, which is typically our dispatch center. It involves the complete renovation of the PD communications facility. It includes upgrades that will include thermal and moisture protection, fire suppression, plumbing, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, or also known as HVAC, electrical and communication infrastructure as well. Again, this project is expected to begin in also fall of 2026. From our transportation division, we have the Adams Avenue Multipurpose Trails Project. The limits of this project is between Royal Palm Drive and the Santa Ana River. It enhances accessibility and safety for bicyclists, pedestrians, and also provides separation from vehicles. The city received a competitive federal grant for the purpose of construction, and the improvements are indeed consistent with the city's general plan and also the Active Transportation Plan, or ATP. Another project from our transportation division is the Mesa Del Mar Multimodal Access Project. Safety mobility improvements along Junipero Drive from Presidio Drive to Arlington Drive. This project will include parking and protected cycle tracks, green bicycle conflict zoning striping, also new sidewalks, accessibility improvements, intersection and Arlington Drive and Junipero Drive. Design will begin at winter of 2026, and the funding allocation is around $350,000 and is 100% state grant amount for construction. Harper Park, project updates include a complete redesign of the park layout. It includes the removal of existing equipment, It also includes installation of modernized playground equipment, the replacement of safety and surfacing for the playgrounds, and the removal and placement of tables, benches, and also trash receptacles. So here's some additional information. The 5-year CIP, going from 26-27 to 2030 to 31, it includes projects deferred and those proposed in upcoming fiscal years. The 5-year plan is updated annually based on goals and priorities by City Council, the input from our commissions, committees, and also our community, and also includes best practices as well. The projects listed from years 2 to 5 in the future are for planning purposes and to plan for future grant opportunities as well. This is kind of hard to see, but this is simply basically what's on your 5-year CIP, which is basically a breathing document. It's subject to change. But the 5-year CIP, this is for 26-27 of the first iteration of the first year. The proposed CIP is basically a revision or update of what that 5-year CIP proposes. And you can compare what you see on the left and what you see on the right. So for example, the first one, the building modification projects, our 5-year CIP for 26-27 shows $200,000. For our proposed, in our 1-year CIP, we're proposing $250,000. And everything is, follows that same pattern throughout these entire 2 columns. So ultimately, staff's recommendation to the Planning Commission is to find that the project is categorically exempt from the provisions of the California Environmental Quality Act, also known as CEQA, and per CEQA guidelines section 15378, and that the city's capital improvement program is a fiscal planning and budgeting activity that allows the city to plan for future specific CIP projects and doesn't commit the city to implement any specific project or project design. And also adopt the general plan conformity resolution, which is attachment 1 for the city of Costa Mesa's 1-year, 26-27 and 5-year, 26-27 through 30-31 capital improvement program or CIP. So this is our tentative budgets calendar. Right now, we're at April 27th, which is at the Planning Commission. Tomorrow, we'll have the mid-year budget on April 28th. And ultimately, the hope is that the budget will be approved on June 2nd in front of City Council during their regularly scheduled City Council meeting. And that concludes our staff's presentation. And with me tonight, we have our esteemed staff to assist us in answering questions if need be. We have Mr. Patrick Bauer, our Deputy Public Works Director. We have Mr. Paul Martin, our Transportation Service Manager, Mr. Rob Ryan, our Maintenance Services Manager, and our Senior Management Analyst, Ms. Anna Baca.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yang.
Thank you.
Commissioners, any questions of staff? Commissioner Martinez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Now, this is the 3rd time that I am looking at Planning Commission resolution to find conformity with our general plan since I've been on this body. My very first meeting on May 13th, 2024, I asked, why are we not doing energy and sustainability projects? Are they not in our general plan? A year later, on May 12th, 2025, I noted that all energy and sustainability projects were listed as 25-26, now 28-29. Why do we do that when we have a goal conservation element 2, conserve natural resources through environmental sustainability? Now this year, in April, month early, nice, we still don't have any energy and sustainability projects. So my question for you and anyone else on staff is, why?
Right. Thank you for the question, Commissioner Martinez. As you alluded to at the beginning of your statements, the city will do an open house this Thursday on the Climate Action Plan. That we consider that as part of our sustainability efforts for the city. The thing is, a lot of the sustainability projects will be looked into after going through the Climate Action Plan. In addition to our sustainability, environmental sustainability manager, we don't have one, and we're also kind of recruiting a new one. That also has a big factor into that as well. But I also like to say that a lot of our projects, including our CI projects, already incorporate a lot of the things that's related to sustainability, such as LED lighting facilities. A lot of sometimes in our HVAC units and some of our facilities projects, we go through energy efficient equipment for those units. And the thing is, we're not blind to it. We do incorporate a lot of those sustainability projects within our CIP. And we continue to pursue those, and we will always pursue those. But in answer to your question, is there a specific project? It's in the works, and the thing is, a lot of it will become more clear after the Climate Action Plan.
Fair enough. Great answer on the cap and on the fact that really energy and sustainability, well, sustainability should be throughout all of our CIP and not just confined to its own sustainability section. So great answer. I think since this is, conformance to the general plan, and that's what we're here to do, I think what I've also said the previous 2 years is just the point of like a spectrum of conformance. Like, sure, this could be in conformance. Could we be even more in conformance? Is there a project in here that is would satisfy a general plan policy or goal that is not currently in here? Or do you think that this is a good list? There's probably no other projects that would make us more in compliance with our general plan?
Commissioner Martinez, I don't think there is one magic project that would satisfy each and every section in terms of the conformance of the general plan. We have a lot of variety of projects that conform to all the aspects of the general plan. And as you can tell by reading the staff report, there are certain different sections of the general plan in which we have different specific projects that conform to. So in a nutshell, do we have a magic bullet type of project that satisfies a considerable number of these conditions? Perhaps we have maybe a few that satisfies 2 or 3 or 4 of these conditions. But the purpose is to have a very comprehensive CIP program in which a lot of these issues of the conformance of the general plan are met.
Yeah, I was just going through like my list of general plan policies that I made last year for the same item. There's a lot of things in here that were met in the CIP, so very, very thankful for that. Those are my questions, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Any other questions, staff? Commissioner Andrade.
Yeah, could you clarify what are the green highlights in our charts?
Yes, that's a very good question. The green highlights represent those projects that were added afterwards. So just to distinguish between our initial draft, the current draft is basically showing the projects that we added. For example, on the last, we didn't have Schiffer Park in the 5-year. That's been added a few weeks later, and that's shown as highlighted in green.
And so how do we determine what year to put it in, right, those greens? Like I see some are in 27, 28, some go right into 26, 27. Is that
Right.
a council decision?
That's a very good question. It basically depends on a myriad of factors. What you've just alluded to, some of it come from a council directive. Some can come from the directives from different bodies, such as this commission or committees. But sometimes it could be dependent on our funding or financial sources. For example, some of our projects have distinct funding deadlines. We have to meet a certain deadline on, for example, maybe in 2028 or 29. So it's scheduled within the 5-year CIP to meet that goal. The 5-year CIP, as I mentioned before, is a breathing document. It's not expected to be rigid or strict year after year. So every year it gives us the opportunity, meaning staff and also our community and our city council, to make any kind of requisite changes if need be to reflect the times that are reflective during that moment.
Got it. So is our kind of call to action here to give any feedback at this point to take back to city council, or just give it a nice rubber stamp and move on? Like, what's our call here?
I won't reflect it as a rubber stamp, Commissioner Andrade,
Just-
but
just
basically
feedback?
Yes, basically, it's my second slide of the presentation said, is to find if it's, the CIP program is largely in conformance to the general plan.
Yeah. So on that regard, I would love for consideration. I think I began my volunteer work or support or engagement with the city going on 5 years, back starting off at Parks Commission. And since then, we were talking about West Side Park development. I know that conversation this current Parks Commission has really done some really good work in advancing work in that space. Just really, would be great if, highly encourage for that line 109 for West Side Park development to be moved to 2627. On the west side, we're completely overdue. Right now, we have no parks, or at least in the surrounding area for District 4, because Ketchum Libel is under construction, which is wonderful, and it's coming, and it took lots of years to get there. Shalimar is completely, so we are just such a park-hungry district. And again, I've been hearing about this, that we need parks, but before we can create parks, you gotta study it and develop it. So that would be one of my recommendations, is to move, please. Highly encourage. Our community really needs it, right? I mean, we're doing great investment on police and enforcement and community services. My community desperately needs it. We need a way to better engage our youth and give third spaces for our community to truly engage and connect. So, and parks is one of those things that the city could do at the very least to engage the community, again, that has been underlooked for so many years. I mean, that was 5 years ago when I first started getting involved. I don't even know how long that this issue of West Side not having parks precedes me. You probably know because you've been here much longer. So that would be one of my requests. The other thing along streets is, and I know I was talking to some of the staff here, is traffic calming opportunities on Wilson Street. Very excited that Wilson Park now has that that Raptor light to get to the park. But Wilson Street, I mean, and I even hear this of visitors. I've now moved twice on Wilson Street, and now I'm further down the block, and that is always the biggest concern of visitors. It is so terrifying to get out of Wilson Street, either turn left or right, because cars are just going full speed, right? Harbor is such a wide, we got 4 lanes with heavy traffic. People are connecting from Placentia, Pomona. Anyways, traffic calming or slowing down. How can we slow down speeds down Wilson Street? There's also there's very few cross streets. There's Harbor, and then blocks and blocks away, all the way to Pomona when the next light is available. And then from there, all the way to Placentia. But that area is so heavily residential. You see moms, parents, seniors, everyone is just playing the most terrifying game of Frogger to cross the street. So how can if we can include Wilson Street in some of the street calming efforts that you're, traffic and speed calming efforts that you're doing on these streets, which are lovely to see, would be great.
Right.
Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Right. Any other commission comments, questions of staff? I see no one from the public in chambers. I'll open public comments. Ms. Green, do we have anybody on Zoom or by phone?
No.
Okay, I'll close public comments. Any last questions before I close the item? Okay, if not, I'll close the item and ask for a motion. Commissioner Dixon.
I move that the Plan Commission find that this project is categorically exempt from the provisions of California Environmental Quality Act per guidelines section 15378, and that we adopt the general plan conformity resolution at attachment 1 for the city's 1-year FY 2026, 2027, and 5-year FY 2026, 2027 to FY 2030 to 31 capital improvement programs.
Second by Commissioner Martinez. Do you want to speak to your motion?
I think it's great work by staff, and everybody wants everything from these, and I think you have a good selection. I appreciate it, and I look forward to the further stuff down the road after the Climate Action and Adaptation Plan workshops and how that gets plugged in. But thank you very much.
Commissioner Martinez?
Yeah, I'll agree. A lot of what's in here, obviously, in conformance with the general plan. There will always be some other thing that you can add, but of course, this is what we have the budget for, and this is what we can do. Just to point out a few specific examples that are in the 5-year West Side Park development, very important to us West Siders. Community gardens was actually pointed out by me to be included to conform with the general plan, my first meeting. So happy to see this budget go along, and happy to see especially all the active transportation things in there. Thank you for that. I know I saw a lot of them, especially that were grant funded, so good work to staff, to the award-winning staff, I'll add, for all of these projects. Thank you.
Okay, if there are no further questions, Ms. Green, may I call for the question?
Motion carries 6-0.
All right, Mr. Yang, don't go too far. We've got Development Services report.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So for tonight's Public Works report, we're happy to mention that our Transportation Services Manager, Mr. Paul Martin, spoke on a panel with Councilmember Arliss Reynolds last week at the California Bicycle Summit in Sacramento. The panel discussed working with Caltrans in improving safety for travelers on Caltrans facilities such as Newport Boulevard here in our city of Costa Mesa. While the state is centered upon cyclist safety and mobility, the work of the city has pursued in improving Newport Boulevard is focused on pedestrian safety and based on council resolution from August of 2025. So that concludes my report to the commission, and I defer it back to you, Chair.
All right, thank you very much. Ms. Tai, Development Services, you still there?
Yes, I am. Thank you. Even though it is past 11 o'clock here on the East Coast. Thank you, first of all. I had to join everybody by Zoom. I am on the East Coast dealing with some family medical issues, but I should be back later on this week. And then just a brief update. I think Commissioner Martinez mentioned the CAP workshop of this Thursday, April 30th, and it's going to be at the City Hall community room. So for the members of the public, please be sure to join us. Upcoming next week at the City Council meeting, the City Council will be hearing the group home request at 1601 Baker Street, and that was heard, as the commission recalls, that was heard by the Planning Commission a few months ago. Quick update on the Neighborhoods Where We All Belong effort. As the commission may recall, there was a second round of outreach to work on the development standards and objective design standards. We are going to be posting an outreach summary to the project website in early May, and then we're launching round 3 of outreach coming up in June. Earlier, there was a question on the Fairview Developmental Center specific plan, and I did mention that while the initial comment period for the working draft of the specific plan has closed, expect a release of the draft environmental impact report in May, and that will launch a 45-day review period. But in the meantime, if anybody has any other comments or questions on the specific plan, that email address for Fairview Developmental Center specific plan is fdchousingplan@costamesaca.gov. And then my next item is just a heads up on the May 11th Planning Commission meeting. We currently do not have any public hearing items scheduled for that, and we will keep the commission as well as members of the public apprised on whether that meeting will occur. So that will be coming up. And then lastly, wishing everybody out there, mothers and families included, a happy Mother's Day. So that's it for me, Chair. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Last but not least, Mr. Preziosi, anything from the city attorney?
Thank you, Chair. Briefly, I just want to remind the commission about the use of substitute motions or amended motions. So anytime, after the first motion has been made and seconded, Any commissioner can, before the vote is called, can make a substitute motion, and the substitute motion gets voted on. So the substitute motions are useful when a particular commissioner wants to add a condition of approval or do something different with a motion. I just want to remind the commission that those exist, and they're efficient tool for reducing discussion, but actually bringing the action before the body. And that is my report this evening.
All right. Thank you for that reminder. We are adjourned.